we're doing a pretty good job, and we will continue to do as good a job as we absolutely can with making efficiencies. But we will never win that argument. People want to know, and so I've heard that since I got into office, and my response has always been, please provide me with an example of something that you're aware of. It must be egregious enough for you to vote no. If it's purely a gut thing, then I can't fix that. But if you have something that we have done that is spending, outside of what we can argue is a norm, and then please present that with us. That's our job, to look at those kinds of things. But show me what it is, and I'll either try to address it or dispel that rumor. But nobody, since I've been on the board, has actually given me a legitimate thing. Mr. Matthews would say that the investment in the assessor software at $600,000 would be an egregious use of public funds. And frankly, he understands the system as well as anybody does.
The other thing, to answer your question, Simon, you had said earlier that nobody had provided any suggestions as to where funds could be used better. I just want to provide one that I think is pretty constructive, and I know I talked to Cherryl about it a while ago, but it just simply is probably a training issue with all of your departments, and that's use your volunteers. Can I give you 2 quick examples? I've been on the Board of Health for 14 years, plus or minus. In 14 years, one time, I've been in the veterinary position all those years, one time have I gotten a call. And just 2 real quick examples. We had a fairly large animal abuse case a while back. When that was said and done and all the bills came out and what was paid, I happened to be sitting in a room just socializing with 2 other veterinarians, and we looked at that and 3 jaws dropped. And literally it was, why did they spend tens of thousands doing this when they could have accomplished the same thing for a few thousand? And both of them, knowing I was on the Board of Health, looked at me and said, did they call you? No, but yeah, if I just looked at this, I could have saved them close to $100,000 right off the top of that with a 3-minute phone call. Another just real quick example is not long ago when you brought up the improvements that are made to the animal shelter, and I'm all for those. Those are great. Those came because we paid, you can look and find out, I don't remember it, but it was a decent chunk of money, and I'm thinking it was in the thousands, for the state veterinarian to come down here and go through our shelter and look at it and make the recommendations. A simple phone call, basically what we got for that was a copy of the Practice Act that every one of us has in our office. I could have Xeroxed it and sent it to him. I could have gotten on the phone with the state veterinarian and said, this is what our county wants to do, and he'd say, great, go in there and check this, 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 and this. So multiply that by the number of departments. Wouldn't surprise me if there were millions that we can save. And it's just simply make that a priority. Go through all your departments and say, hey, are you using your volunteers?
Yeah, and those things, and I'm not trying to make excuses but the reality is oftentimes that's an awareness process that needs to take place too. It's because in the past or whatever, you got the problem, you take the phone, call the guy who's going to fix it, and he happens to be a county employee because that's what it's going to be, and it gets fixed or whatever. And it's a process. I mean, like the whole development over here, or the redoing of the animal shelter, that was primarily done by volunteers who went out there and who, they put in some hard, hot hours, but it was all done by volunteers.
Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah, but to raise that up, to raise that awareness up, and that's a process of time that takes place, and by illustrations like the animal shelter, to see it being done, and to see it grow. Sure, it should, and hopefully it can and it will.